A man lies dead in a locked hotel room. No weapon, no struggle, no way in or out. 3 guests say they saw nothing, but someone's lying, and the killer is still inside. Can you find out who did it before it's too late? It was just past PM when the manager of Hotel Crestwood called the police. Room 405 wasn't answering any calls. The "Do Not Disturb" sign had been hanging on the door all day, and the guest inside, Mr. Alan Pierce, hadn't checked out, even though he was due to leave at noon. Security opened the door. What they found was strange. Alan was lying face down on the carpet. No bruises, no blood, no signs of a break-in. The door was locked from the inside. The windows? Closed. Latched. Bathroom? Empty. Closet? Empty. And yet, Alan Pierce was clearly dead. Detective Lisa Grant was called in. Calm. Focused. Sharp as a razor. First thing she noticed, Alan's watch had stopped at exactly 5:17 p.m. It wasn't broken. It had been pulled off his wrist and carefully placed on the table, right next to a room service tray that still had half a sandwich and an untouched cup of coffee. Strange, right? But there was no time to waste. 3 people had stayed in the rooms surrounding Alan's. Room 404, a businessman named Edward Cole. Room 406, a woman named Dr. Olivia Ray. Room 407, a travel blogger named Josh Dean. All 3 had reasons to be there. All 3 claimed they never heard a thing. So Lisa started digging. Edward Cole, room 404, a stiff, no-nonsense kind of man, claimed he arrived late, showered, ordered dinner, and went to sleep by PM. Didn't hear anything from the other rooms, he said. I had a flight early the next morning, but Lisa noticed his shoes were wet. It hadn't rained in 2 days. Odd. Dr. Olivia Ray, room 406. Quiet, intelligent, polite. She said she was in town for a medical seminar and had spent most of her day preparing her slides. I work late hours, she said. I only left my room once, to get ice from the machine down the hall. Maybe around 5:30. But there was a fresh scratch on her wrist. Nervous tick? Or something more. Josh Dean, room 407. Friendly. Too friendly, maybe. He claimed he spent the afternoon editing his latest travel vlog. Had headphones in, he said. Didn't even know someone had died until the cops showed up. Lisa glanced around his room. Camera. Tripod. Editing laptop. Everything checked out. But he had left his room to upload videos at 5:20 p.m. and the security camera showed him walking toward the elevator with no laptop. If he was going to upload, where was the device? Detective Grant asked herself, how does a man die in a locked room, with no one going in and no signs of violence? Then she remembered something small but strange. The room service tray had mustard smeared on the bottom of the plate. The coffee cup was completely cold, like it had been there for hours. And yet Alan's watch had stopped at 5:17 p.m. Was that the time of death? Or a message? Lisa kept digging. She pulled security footage, checked timestamps. Alan had received the food at 1:03 p.m., so if the watch stopped at 5:17 p.m., that's over 4 hours later. Something happened between lunch and death. But what? Here's what we know. Alan was alive at 1:03 p.m. His watch stopped at 5:17 p.m. The room was locked from the inside. 3 neighbors say they saw or heard nothing. 1 has wet shoes. 1 has a scratch. 1 is missing a laptop. And no murder weapon was found. So tell me, who do you think killed Alan Pierce? Take a second to guess, because what comes next changes everything. Lisa went back to the hallway footage. She watched carefully, and there it was at 5:16 p.m. Olivia Ray stepped out of room 406, carrying a trash bag. She went down the hallway, turned left out of sight, and came back 3 minutes later. What was in the bag? And more importantly, why was she limping slightly on her right leg? Lisa checked the laundry chute. Inside, a pair of latex gloves and a syringe. No fingerprints. But Olivia was a doctor. She'd have access to muscle relaxants, or worse. But Olivia wasn't the killer. You see, the syringe wasn't the murder weapon. It was a decoy. The real killer never left Alan's room. because the real killer was already in the room. That's when Lisa figured it out. The wet shoes, the broken camera timeline, the locked door. It all pointed to Edward Cole room 404. But how? Edward knew Alan. They had worked at the same company years ago. Alan had exposed Edward for fraud, costing him everything. Revenge was brewing. Edward booked room 404, the one right next to Alan's. But on the day of the murder, he didn't stay in his own room. He sneaked into Alan's room at around 4:45 p.m. Using an old trick. The hotel still used sliding metal locks, not chains. He used a magnet tool to unlock it while Alan was in the bathroom. He hid in the closet, waited. At 5:15 p.m., he came out. He used chloroform to knock Alan unconscious, took his watch, stopped it at 5:17, placed it on the table. Then, he injected air into Alan's vein using a needle. A slow, silent way to cause a fatal embolism. No bruises, no struggle. It looked like nothing had happened. Edward slipped out the window, crawled over to the adjacent balcony, his own room, 404. He left the murder weapon, the syringe, in the bathroom air vent, changed clothes, and played innocent. But he forgot one thing. His shoes were wet from walking along the hotel ledge after the rain sprinkler had been activated on the garden floor. Edward Cole was arrested that night. His fingerprints were found on Alan's belt buckle used to tie his arms after the chloroform. When confronted with the evidence, he confessed. It wasn't the perfect crime after all. You spotted the clues, didn't you? Or maybe the twist still caught you off guard? Either way, there are more mysteries waiting for minds like yours. So if solving puzzles, spotting lies, and cracking impossible cases is your thing, keep following the trail. We'll see you at the next mystery.